Hi everyone and welcome back. I'm often asked what HiFi streamer I would recommend to somebody that already owns a high-performance DAC and an equally impressive preamplifier. And for a while now I couldn't recommend something meaningful to you. Sure enough, there's Lumen that crafts very good streamers, but I never quite liked their clumsy interface and also those monochrome displays. There's also our Render that crafts high-end streamers, but they do not offer any kind of Rune integration. They use a proprietary streaming platform, and let's not forget our Render's sky-high prices. Today, however, marks a day when I can recommend something meaningful to you guys that incorporates so many things like Rune integration, Cobus Connect, Tidal Connect, room correction, and also EQ, without forcing you to buy some additional features that you'll never use, such as a DAC section or a preamplifier section. This is EverSolo's T8 that goes for $1380 US or euros, and let's talk about it. The build quality of the T8 is exquisite. It features a brick-like all-metal case with a matte black paint job with a huge tempered glass covering its entire front panel. When turned off, it becomes stealthy and it doesn't attract a lot of attention. The case is thick and the metalwork seems flawless to me. It weighs about 6.5 kilos or 14.3 pounds. It's literally twice the size versus the third generation DMP-A6, and that already suggests that we have a much beefier power supply and quite probably a nicer component selection as well. If you had told me a few years ago that a wired connection sounds better than a Wi-Fi connection on a HiFi streamer, then I would call you delusional. However, after conducting such a comparison on a Gold Note DS10 Plus a couple of years ago, I am now a believer. The wired Ethernet or SVP fiber optic sounds tighter, clearer and more articulate, having a better timing versus the Wi-Fi connection, and since the T8 is their flagship HiFi streamer, all of the wireless antennas found on the DMP series were removed entirely on the T8. It still has a Wi-Fi 6 module installed, but I would suggest using its Ethernet connection or even better, the SVP fiber port that provides electrical isolation, effectively shielding it against electromagnetic interference. It features wide metallic feet and includes thick rubber pads that absorb vibrations from within its electronics. We get a massive 6-inch touchscreen that's bright, the viewing angles are good, we get lots of saturation, and more importantly, it's a high-resolution screen that appears super crisp even when approaching it, offering a stunning first impression. Its UI is complex but intuitive. It even has a dedicated control app for iOS and Android devices, which works as a remote control for the unit. I have complained about not getting a remote control in my DMP-A6 video, but look at this beautiful, shiny, stylish remote control that we get with the T8. It's slim, it's very easy to hold, all of the buttons are functional, and overall this is a high quality remote control. Moving on to controls, the T8 is very easy to use thanks to its large display located in the middle and several touch buttons surrounding it. It looks symmetrical, clean and easy to understand, and having a glimpse on the back panel you can spot a gigabit Ethernet port, an isolated SVP optical fiber port, two USB Type-A ports, one of which is an OTG port to expand the local storage. There's an extra isolated USB port best used with USB DACs. We have an isolated AAC output, a regular optical and coaxial output, and the most crucial connection I've been asking EverSolo to implement for a while now, the I2S connection that I love so much and that I use with my DAC on a daily basis. Finally, we have an isolated I2S output on the T8 that includes several modes to ensure full compatibility with most DACs out there. It needs to be mentioned that we have a universal power supply on board, and you shouldn't worry about the incoming AC voltage because it will work anywhere on the globe. If you're wondering what's inside it, considering that this is just a streamer and nothing else, you should know that the PCB board is no longer as populated, the signal path is shorter, and therefore we have a lower channel crosstalk, and it should sound purer compared to what they did before with their DMP series. The new power supply section of the T8 is frankly the biggest upgrade that I've seen on any of their DMP series. Finally, we have a high-quality toroidal transformer that uses high-purity copper. This is also an isolated transformer that drops the noise floor to 30 microvolts. So this is already a very good power supply. We have several voltage regulators put on heatsinks and also an overkill capacitance and filtering stage, having some big cabs for a higher capacitance than usual compared to what I saw on their DMP-A6, A8, A10 devices. The second most important part of a HiFi streamer is its timing and the handshake it makes with the DAC that follows. A better clocking system and a better timing is improving the tightness and also can reveal additional nuances. We get 2 femtosecond grade clocks on the T8 made by Aquasilicon, and you can actually spot these in high performance DACs. There are, however, 2 critical words that Eversolo has been used over and over again to describe the inner workings of the T8, and those are electrical isolation. The I2S, the AAC, the coaxial and one USB port are all electrically isolated from the main board, ensuring a stable and accurate music playback, preserving the inner details and the textural information of studio-grade recordings, and of course the spatial cues of live recordings. Last but not least, you can install 2 M.2 SSDs up to 8 TB per slot or 16 TB in total, transforming it into an offline music server and digital transport, just in case you don't fancy all of those third-party music streaming options. Before talking about its performance, let's zoom out a little bit and let's talk about their very own app that has been updated plenty of times by now. It's called EverSolo Control, and it works with both iOS and Android devices. Absolutely every feature is at your fingertips. You can select a desired output, access your music stored on the SSD or USB flash drive. You can even mirror its screen on your smartphone or tablet, automatically flipping into a landscape view. The connection between your phone and the T8 is snappy, with zero lags or hiccups, and this casting option is solid as a rock. Everything moves swiftly, and if Roon is your thing, then it effortlessly serves as a Roon endpoint via wired or wireless connections. Just ensure that you already got a Roon server installed first. In case you don't like tinkering with Roon or with third-party apps like EverSolo Control, then of course you have the fail-safe option of using Tidal Connect, Qobuz Connect or Spotify Connect, which run perfectly fine on the T8. Alright everyone, now let's discuss about the most interesting part, how it compares with everything that Eversolo has done so far and how it compares with my very own streamer that I've been using for a while now. Now, discussing these all-in-one devices that are disguised as HiFi streamers was somehow easier because the DMP series also had a DAC section and a preamplifier section, and you can catch their tonality much easier. But right now on the T8 we do not have a DAC section, we do not have a preamplifier. It's just a HiFi streamer with no bells and whistles. But personally I like this part a lot because I can use my very own much higher quality DAC and also my very own preamplifier, which I also consider to be of a much higher quality. I like using separates because every single component was built to provide me maximum performance. The only thing I don't like about separates is their high prices, so they can cost you an arm and a leg. Something that I cannot say about the T8, which I believe is reasonably priced considering the high quality components found inside this case. I never tried the second generation DMP-A6, but compared to the very third generation DMP-A6, the first thing I noticed is that the sound has grown considerably in size. The sound stage is bigger, there is more sound everywhere in your room. Also, the noise floor went down considerably, and you cannot hear actually the noise floor because there's more blackness in between the notes, and subsequently some additional nuances started popping out of nowhere in your room. So yes, I would say that the T8 is more detailed, it offers you more resolution compared to the DMP-A6 third generation. The DMP-A6 had so many features and all of them are working so nicely on the DMP-A6. However, it was not made to be your last step in terms of hi-fi streamers. It was made to offer you a ton of connectivity and a ton of features, but not to offer you the absolute best sound that EverSolo has to offer. By comparison, the T8 is seriously boosting the inner texture, especially when listening to acoustic music or vocal intensive tracks. There is a little bit more purity to the sound. Everything appears clearer, more nuanced, and I'd say that the music is creating a more emotional attachment this time around. When you improve the timing of your streamer that does a handshake with an external DAC, you're not just improving the music's timing, but so much more. There's a better grip this time around, there's a nicer contour of the notes, there's more subtleties coming from your tunes as if you upgraded to a new DAC, a better sounding one. The source of your music is the inception point of the signal, and it is as important as your DAC. And I know that many of you are overlooking this part, the source of your signal. Many of you are still using a laptop or a desktop PC with a USB connection with an external DAC, but you are seriously limiting your DAC's performance. Improve your source, get a dedicated music server and a wired streamer, and the music will get clearer, faster, more nuanced, and overall just much purer sounding than before. The DMP-A8 sounded smoother and mellower compared to a somewhat brighter sounding but slightly more detailed sounding DMP-A6. However, the T8, I believe, is none of those. It's not smooth, it's not mellow, it's not dark, it's not bright. And if I were to describe it with just one single word, then that would be pure. It's not badly influencing the sound it's not adding a beautified filter on top, it's not adding or removing anything from the original signal, it just sends it to the next stage, digital to analog conversion, without touching the sound in any way. And if you think about it, that's exactly what a statement hi-fi streamer should do. It should not influence the sound in any way. If you want to color the sound, you can do that immediately after the streamer. You can use an R2R ladder DAC and infuse a bit more life everywhere in the frequency response, boost the color. You can change the cables for a slight different tonality. You can use a tube-based preamplifier or a single-ended trioed amplifier that will boost the mid-range. You can use a Class A biased MOSFET amplifier that will improve the bass and add more slam in there. So you can definitely change and color the sound how you want, but I'm not recommending doing that at the inception point. The inception point, the source, should be as pure and as transparent and as clean as possible, and that's what I'm getting with the T8. From the entire portfolio, I'd say that only DMP-A10 had a reference sound. It was transparent, clean, it was not leaning towards the bright side, towards the dark side. It was quite neutral, but also pure and very clean sounding, something that the T8 is also very much the same, including the Wavedream Net music server and Rune endpoint. There is a small difference between the T8 and the DMP-A10. I feel that there is a lower noise floor on the T8, and I can hear some additional reverbs on the T8 and a slightly longer natural decay of the notes, almost like distant echoes, something that happens not that often on the DMP-A10. Perhaps the most important thing to say about the T8 is that from an army of hi-fi streamers that I've tried at my place, many of which I didn't review and I didn't write about, didn't feel about, I'd say that the T8 is the closest to the sound of my Wavedream Net music server that usually goes for $11,000 US. The sound is a little bit denser and bolder and thicker on the Rockna, but I feel that everything else is pretty much on the same level with the Rockna, which is quite a big deal. Including the big soundscape that stretches wide open, the impressive dynamics and the powerful hits and the lowest octaves, it's very similar on the T8. Even the super high resolution and very low noise floor seems to play at the level of statement HiFi streamers. And with all due respect to Blue Sound Node or Power Node users or Wim Ultra users or EverSolo DMP-A6 or DMP-A8 and the list goes on, I believe that you cannot compare such devices with the T8 because it's just playing at a higher league, starting with resolution, noise control, and then finishing with sound realism and timing. Some of you might wonder what digital output sounded best to me, and usually a microsecond later I will tell you that the I2S output simply destroyed everything else, sounded clearer, tighter, bigger, more spacious with a lower noise floor. And while that is partially true on the T8 as well, the difference is no longer as big. So there is no longer a significant difference between the I2S output and also isolated USB, isolated coaxial or AAC. They all had a super low noise floor and the tonality didn't shift in any direction. The only difference is that the I2S output still sounded ever so slightly faster and punchier than the rest, and that's a great thing because all of its outputs are now usable and all of them will sound good without downgrading the sound output in any way. Wrapping up, I'm glad that Eversolo started developing such units as the T8, the upcoming DAC Z10, that can be seen as no-compromise devices that have just one single feature but do it so much better compared to their all-in-one devices. We finally have a really nice remote control, we finally have an I2S output, we have two SSD slots, and honestly guys, complaining about this thing is like searching for a needle in a haystack. Even its screen is now sharper versus its all-in-one brothers, and I can only presume that we have a high resolution screen this time around and a better panel because the colors are popping so much nicer on the T8. The sound is no longer changing my system's tonality and I can finally hear the unspoiled truth from iTunes without spending a small fortune on a world-class streamer. If you already have a half-decent stereo or a Head 5 battle station, then do yourself a favor and get a proper HiFi streamer. I assure you that you'll never want to use your USB connection in between your PC or laptop and your USB DAC. The sound will get much better, I'd say. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. Please don't forget to like, dislike, maybe subscribe to this channel if you found this video helpful. And I'll see you soon with a portable digital audio player review. See you soon. Cheers.